Welcome back, everybody. Hey, Steve, we're back together again, and I have to tell you that it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. I mean, we're getting a lot of good responses to these things, so we'll keep them short and sweet. And this week, and actually today, I know we're going to do another one later on in the week, but thought I would just ask you a bit about culture, what you're finding from the HR world, any changes going on now. What would you say?
Yeah, awesome. Well, reunited and it feels so good, I believe is the song. Anyways, yeah, I enjoy these two, James, and love to dive into a culture perspective because again, it does feel like we're going to kind of norm out or start to become what our new norm is. From not so much of an HR perspective, but from more of a leadership perspective and a lot of consulting that I've done over the last 8 years, I've really focused and put a lot of my time into three different things: people, product, and process. And product and process are usually pretty cut and dry. If you're knowledgeable about the industry, you should be able to manage those two. But people is always the one that is the most troublesome. It's a rogue card. We're not sure. We know least about each other than we do about anything else. And so I just wanted to kind of focus on that. So over the last 8 years, I put together a diagram and call it MGP. It's Maslow's group dynamics and then the 5 powers of leadership. And we actually use this tool to evaluate companies. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you actually how to use the tool within your own company to see what you might be inefficient or where you might be very efficient and what you guys can work on, and hopefully give an example or two pretty quick. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up MGP right now.
Excellent. Look forward to seeing this one.
So we're going to go over just real quick the 5 powers of leadership. These are everything a leader should have. And we've determined that the less you have of these, the less efficient of a leader you are, and that you can actually become a glass ceiling within your organization. Charm is one. Are you likable? Are you able to give reward? And that's not just monetary. That can be a pat on the back can be a reward. Are you allowed to punish? Again, you have to have some authority or title or something to be able to punish. Not like mean girl status or anything of that nature, but legitimate. Do you actually have a title? Do people actually understand what you do there? And then are you an expert in the field? And this one's really easy to answer. If I were to ask a room full of people, who would they point at? As, hey, if you have a question or if you have a problem or something of that nature, who are you going to go to? And it just depends on the topic. But for the most part, everyone should have, you should have somebody want to point at you eventually. So that's your 5 powers of leadership and your glass ceiling. So just remember, as a leader coming back to your organization, that you're fulfilling those 5. And there's usually 1 or 2 that you're very inefficient at and that you need to work on. And there's usually 2 or 3 that you're pretty good at. So for me personally, it's punishment. I hate to punish people. It's not my favorite thing to do. So I always lack in there. And it honestly makes me not be the leader I could be. So that's the 5 powers of leadership. So just keep that in the back of your mind. If you're a supervisor or manager making this transition, that your people are looking to you for these 5 qualities. Next is going to be Maslow's hierarchy of need. Everybody's heard of this. If you've even had one college class, you've probably seen Maslow's. Some professors believe in it a lot. Some don't. I think that it depends on your situation. Larger corporations, this might not apply, but definitely smaller corporations, it applies a lot. And as you can see, we've numbered these. So when I come in and I do these interviews, I'm actually seeing if I ask you, James, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your morale within the organization? And you tell me it's a 6 or a 7, I'm going to bring that 6 or 7 back to my MGP, and I'm going to actually make one of these for you to determine on where you're at and how we can get you to the next step. So 6 and 7 is very, very common. But what I want to focus on more right now is that 5-6 area, because it's safety needs, it's security and safety. If people are not feeling secure, if people don't feel like they have a job, if people don't feel like there's going to be food on the table, they are going to lack in that area. And so you might have to take a step back. So even if your corporation was at a 6 or a 7 with need and belongings, and you really just needed to give them a pat on the back with some esteem goals or some esteem needs, I want you to reassess your company going back in, or even from a manager's perspective, like, hey, are my people feeling safe? Do they feel like everything's okay? it's funny, but do they have toilet paper? And if they don't, can I get them some?
Oh, those are basic needs, right?
Right. These are all basic needs, but we take these all for granted. We believe that everybody should just be happy that they have a job, and they should be thankful because they have that job. And people are grateful for that, but they still have these needs. And there's nothing that you can do other than addressing those needs, acknowledging those needs, and applying what is next on the chart. So if somebody says that they're a 6-7, I'm going to do things that make them feel belonging, a part of team. And then also love needs, making sure that they know that they're appreciated within the organization. Now, esteem needs, I might need to be doing things such as peer reviews or 360 reviews or tools such as that. Self-actualization, those should be your supervisors, not always, but should. But they have the wherewithal to be able to look inside themselves and analyze, did they do what they could that day, and can they get better the next day? But all those other needs have to be filled before you can actually get to that point. And then I'm going to look at group dynamics. Group dynamics is broken up into 5 different pieces. It's meeting the group, which is forming, then storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. And I've noticed that most companies here in the Central Valley, or even outside the Central Valley, tend to sit in that norming range. So what they do is they actually recycle over and over again. So they go through forming, and then they storm and they fight, and then they get back to norming, and then they add another person. So anything changing within your environment is actually going to create a rinse cycle. So you're going to go from norming back over to forming. And then why is everybody so upset with one another? It's this cycle that just won't stop. And the only way that you can do that is to solidify your team, make sure that everybody's on the same page, and then you can get to performing. When you're performing, your group will actually stay there, and the new person will actually go through the group dynamics by themselves and necessarily won't pull the entire group back. So there's not a lot of inefficiencies or people forgetting things. But as a whole, I think that this is one thing that we should focus on going back to work, is that things aren't what they used to be ever. People's situations are not what they used to be ever. And I think that we just need to take a step back, reconnect, see where everyone is. You might think that this is crazy or silly for a company to do an organization or a culture analysis. Well, that's what I've been doing for 8 years. And I'm going to tell you that we've made multi-million-dollar companies off of culture and off of people, and taking the 10 minutes to do a cultural assessment, or taking the 10 minutes to do a safety assessment, right? I mean, doing a safety assessment or a culture assessment, these little things that only take 10 or 20 minutes out of your time, which might seem forever, honestly are going to save you a cut off hand later, or, somebody's hurt feelings later, which are then going to take 5 hours, and reports and everybody else. So I'm saying take the time up front and get that stuff taken care of before it becomes a problem. Sit down, have these meetings with your teams. See, one-on-one is great. If you need a consultant, or if you need somebody outside, we'd love to help you. I'm sure Boretti Safety would love to help you on a safety side, but use these other organizations. The cost comparison is minimal when you look at the actual gains that you're going to make.
Yep. And Steve, that was excellent. A great recap for actually a very in-depth and complex type of topic, quite honestly.
It's a 4-hour class.
Yes. Oh, it's more than that. You know that, my friend, I tell you. But I will say this, is that it certainly does matter on this whole thing with regard to your safety performance as well. Those two things are very much integrated, and certainly safety culture, safety performance, safety management, all feeds right into a system like this. Having systems like this, hey, you're not only going to get good quality relationships with good people that you have as human resources, you're going to get great safety performance out of it, and you're also going to get efficient, profitable performance as well. So, right. Steve, thank you so much for explaining this today. Great.
Yeah, no, thanks for the Zoom chat. It's nice to be on the other side. I'm always asking the questions, so it's good to be on this side. Thanks so much.
Anytime, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay,
right,
thanks.